Crying is a very natural thing we do as people. It's usually associated with strong internal emotions we have, whether those emotions be sadness, anger, or even happiness. Sometimes they're so strong that it pushes us to the brink of tears. Now, when you think of a video game, you normally don't think that this has the power to create a strong emotional bond with anyone. But lo and behold, they do. But have you ever thought why exactly? Sadness is one of the easiest emotions to exploit in media. Now, themes like death, abandonment, and loneliness are generally depressing topics, but that alone isn't enough to make you emotional. Listen to what I'm about to say. Video games alone do not have the power to make you cry. Here's an example. As a kid, I didn't really grow up playing Final Fantasy. The first time I played Final Fantasy VII, I was 16 years old. Not a care in the world, and everything in my life seemed perfect. You know, 16-year-old garbage. Now, when I experienced the infamous death of Aeris right before my very eyes, I didn't really react. I mean, don't get me wrong, it didn't exactly brighten my day, but I eventually just brushed it off. Now, before you go out and call me heartless, let me explain why this didn't have an effect on me. For one, I didn't grow up with the series, so my brain couldn't connect the childhood nostalgia part of my brain to the loving happiness in my heart. And secondly, my life was in a generally happy place at that time. I was making new friends and very much enjoying myself. So getting into a sad emotional state was going to be pretty difficult. But let's look at the complete opposite side of the spectrum. Tales of Symphonia is easily one of my favorite games of all time, but the reason why probably isn't what you'd expect. Sure, the game is fun and all that, but there's much more to it. I bought this game back in 2008. I was in the 7th grade, and by this time I've moved to a completely new state, and therefore went to a new school and had to make new friends. Now, by the time I was in the 7th grade, I've been living in this new state for 3 years and still haven't made any friends. I went to a local video game store and found this game. Immediately, I was so immersed in everything because it's all I really had in terms of companionship. Lloyd, Genus, Colette, they all became my friends. I felt so connected to these characters. Whatever they felt and went through, I would go through the same exact emotions with them. And when I completed the game, this sense of sadness loomed over me. I spent hours on end getting to know these people, and just like that, it was over. Now, I know that probably sounds like I should be locked up in a loony bin for caring about these non-existent people so much, but that's just how it was. If I played this game at any other point in my life, it wouldn't have the same emotional effect on me that it does now. You see, a game can only have an emotional effect on someone if the game is able to connect with the player on a deeper level. Now, that might sound pretty obvious at first, but have you ever thought of how many factors you need to take into consideration? There's things like how your family interacted, how they treated you, how your friends treated you, if you even had friends, the values you were taught, your experiences in school. Humans are so complex that it's almost impossible to create a set formula for an emotional response. Almost impossible. Look at the Binding of Issac. This game tackles many topics and has a lot of depressing things going for it. It deals with themes like abandonment, isolation, suicide, and not being loved by your mother. It's a huge smorgasbord of sadness wrapped into one game. It's only a matter of time until something here connects with you. It's kind of like if you wanted to make the happiest game ever, you would include things like bunnies, rainbows, cotton candy, and Scarlett Johansson. Eventually, one of these things will make you feel warm inside. Speaking of happiness, let's talk about that. The tears of sadness aren't the only kind of tears you shed. Happy tears are very natural. The most common type of happy tears we shed come from nostalgia, especially if you're talking about video games. A simple NES title can instantly give you vivid flashbacks to your childhood. Now, does this mean every time you put in The Legend of Zelda, you're immediately going to start bawling your eyes out? I really doubt that. But given the right circumstance, it's very possible that that could happen. There's a news article that got passed around a while ago. In 2001, there was a 4-year-old boy who played Rally Sport Challenge on the original Xbox with his father. They had a ton of fun playing it together. Unfortunately, after some time, the boy's father passed away. Years later, the same child, who is now a teenager, took his Xbox out of storage to play and relive some childhood memories. He put in Rally Sport Challenge and found an old save file. This file had a ghost car in it. A ghost car is when you have the fastest time in a race. Next time you play that track, you race side by side with it trying to beat its time. This particular ghost car belonged to the father of this boy. In a way, he got to play this childhood game with his father all over again. That easily brought a smile to my face, and yeah, I choked up a little while reading it. But not everything has to be that deep. As a kid, me, my brother, and a friend played the hell out of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We put hours on end with this game. Eventually, when we moved though, we never saw him again. When I replay the game, I get flashbacks to all the good times we had, and it makes me happy. So let's wrap this up. A game alone cannot make you cry. It's just a CD or a cartridge that puts images on the screen. The message of a game can be generally happy or sad, but that's not enough. Why do video games make you cry? They act as a trigger to access your past and reveal your emotions based off of your experiences in life. The key word here is your. The emotions that belong to you. No website or YouTuber can tell you what's a good game and what's a bad game because they're not you. You may have a completely different past and experience from someone who played this bad game, or maybe your life was in a certain spot. Nobody can classify anything. Labels don't exist. Everyone and everything is unique. Maybe you're someone who's never cried at a game, or maybe you're someone who cries at everything. Why? It's just who you are. Embrace it. It's what makes you special.